Welcome back. So in our last video, we talked about empathy, and empathy is very related to today's topic, which is appreciating diversity. The foundation really of responding to other people in positive ways is empathy. So let's start with this. Often America is called the American melting pot, but like many others, I don't really believe that's the best metaphor. When you think of a melting pot, you think of people coming together and kind of losing their identity as they become one indistinguishable mush of people. Well, that's really not what I think we're striving for, and many others agree. I like the metaphor much better of a fruit salad. You see, in a fruit salad, every piece you still can taste and celebrate and retains their identity. A blueberry is still a blueberry in a fruit salad. However, together, there's this synergy that makes it even more delicious. Very much the same as we are trying to build safer, more inclusive societies, what we're trying to do is do something much more like that fruit salad metaphor, where we're able to come together and yet still retain our own identity, and everyone's background and culture is celebrated, and yet together we become greater than the sum of their parts. Diversity is a great strength. When we have a diverse group and a diverse set of perspectives, we often come up with better solutions and more creative solutions, as we can take all kinds of things into account. And not only that, but there's a much richer human experience when we have these diverse perspectives. But how do you put it into action? So putting it to action really helps if you have a tool. The tool that I recommend is something called the Riddle Scale. The Riddle Scale is a way that we can evaluate how we are responding to people that we perceive as different. And so the Riddle Scale goes from repulsion to pity to tolerance to admiration to nurturance. And so the idea of the scale is to think about how am I responding to someone and then try to move myself up the scale. So let's take, for example, I'm sitting on the bus and a woman who's elderly comes and sits down. Let's say she's around 90 years old and she smells really strongly of cats. Now, if I hold my nose and stand up and walk to the back of the bus, that would be repulsion, and that would definitely be something that would not be received very positively by that woman if she noticed. Now, the second level, pity, would be more like I kind of scoot away from her and I feel bad for her, and when she's not looking to kind of help her out, I spray some deodorant on her. That's pity, not great. Now, the next one up is tolerance. I'm not gonna bother her, she's not gonna bother me. I'm gonna plug my earbuds in and read my book, and I'm just gonna tolerate her being there. I'll put up with whatever I think. Then the next one up, or the fourth one, is admiration. I might even say to her something like, what have you done to stay so healthy and still be able to get up and about at the age of 90? I'm very impressed. The best stage, or the highest stage on the scale, is nurturance. Nurturance would be starting a conversation with her and asking her about her cats and her family and learning more about what she loves and celebrating that. That's nurturance. The goal of the Riddle Scale is to recognize how you are responding to people that are perceived as different from you in your mind. How are you responding to these people? And as you notice how you're responding, that's called awareness. What's great is, when you know better, you generally do better. Because once I become aware that I'm not responding in a positive way, I'm more likely to move myself up the scale. But moving myself up the scale brings me back to the skill of empathy. This is great skill building, because awareness is that first key of how I respond, but then empathy is the engine that is moving me up that scale. Think back to what I taught you about empathy and how that overlays on the Riddle Scale. So when I taught you about empathy, I talked about empathy is close and othering is spar. So when I am empathizing, I'm making myself emotionally close. And when I'm othering, I'm making myself emotionally distant from someone. So if you think about that on the riddle scale, when I am othering someone, I'm more likely to be on the edge of that repulsion side of the scale, or pity. And when I am truly empathizing, I'm more likely to be on the side of admiration or nurturance. So the skill of empathy combined with the awareness of the riddle scale can really help us change how we are responding to others and create a much better appreciation of diverse perspectives and backgrounds. However, this is not enough. We can't just become aware and change our own behavior. We also need to be willing to engage in courageous conversations when we notice something that is unjust or unfair or hurtful. When we see someone else responding in a way that is not a positive way on that riddle scale, we need to find ways to have those courageous conversations and call that out, so we're not just moving ourselves, but also moving those around us towards safer, more inclusive responses. And these kinds of courageous conversations could be about racial inequities or comments, or about religious inequities or comments, or about gender inequities or comments, or lots of other different conversations. But the key is being willing to have some of those. We'll talk more about courageous conversations in the next video. But for now, engage in these activities, start to really become more aware of the riddle scale, and remember that unity starts with you. And I'll see you in the next video.